Welcome to the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. I'm your host, David, and in this episode, we're going to be talking all things marketing with another David. I've got David Forman here with me. David is the COO of Clarity Creative Group, a digital marketing agency in Orlando, Florida. His agency works with clients from healthcare to nonprofits, artists to lawyers, and everyone in between. David, so great to have you here on the show with us.
Yeah, so glad to be here and hang with another David.
We should call this David's podcast. We've had a handful of Davids as guests already.
I could see it. You should only have Davids on your podcast.
Davids. We're gonna rename the podcast Only Davids, but anybody can listen to that one. You don't have to be David to listen to that one.
That is allowed. Yes, we do allow anybody to listen, not only Davids. Correct. I like that.
So we're going to be talking about marketing, which includes all kinds of stuff. Let's just start with the basics here. What is a niche or a niche?
Yeah, so chances are you're probably going niche or niche, depending on, I guess, where you want to be from or how you want to say it. It's probably like what you're going after, right? It's who you're trying to speak to and what you're trying to really get across, right? And I would say when it comes to like marketing, you know, if you think about anything from Facebook ads to Google ads to SEO, who are you talking to and what are you talking about? And that would be your niche, you know, who are you trying to reach type of thing.
In a recent episode, we were talking about three things that make up a niche and really identifying the persona or the avatar that you're going after, which is demographic, geographic, and psychographics. So when we think about all those things with regards to a niche, how can SEO be leveraged in that way?
So you would use SEO to go after those, probably your niche, depending on what you're looking to get out of it. There's a couple of different ways to go about this. I'm going to go a little bit longer probably on answer than you probably want, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I feel like that there's a couple routes to go down, who you're writing to, what you're writing to, and what you want to get across. So it goes different ways. If you're a non-for-profit, you probably have, I would almost say there's probably like three levels, right? So you have probably the people that you support. There's the people that probably can support your organization, your donors and everything like that. And then you probably just have the casual person, right? So maybe you have events or other things that might find you or follow you or show interest in you, right? So the question would be, how do you speak to them? So almost probably have three different personas, just as a thought. And it would be about, you know, a special needs charity. Maybe, you know, okay, well, chances are they do a lot of hospital visits. Maybe they're researching a lot on certain blogs or other things. But that's probably going to be different than maybe your donor pool. Maybe your donor pool comes from people who are philanthropy, or maybe they are doctors, or they like to, you know, support something local, or it touches on something that is important to them. So maybe your content, everything that you put together might be unique that way. And then you might have your casual. So I'm thinking like Walk for Wishes event coming up or whatever, and you need to get people there. You're going to have everybody. So maybe at that point, you're trying to bring in anybody at that point, and you're just trying to speak to multiple people. But how you would probably try to either market or write to, it's about finding what are they searching for? What do they need? What are they trying to get out of coming to your website or maybe your Facebook page, whatever it is that you're trying to get your information out.
And I think that's a really great way of thinking of it. When you're thinking about who you're going after, you've probably got 50 to 60% of people that fall into a specific persona, avatar, whatever you want to call it, right? And then you'll probably have, I don't know, like a 20% and a 20% and a 10%, whatever. You want to spend, in my opinion, the most amount of time on the major people that you're going after, the people that you're really, really, really trying to connect with. To your point, yeah, you're going to have constituents that are using your programs or services. You're going to have donors and volunteers, and you're going to have maybe like the general public, maybe government, those type of things. So really being clear on who it is that you want to connect with, write it down, put it down on paper somewhere, put that into your brand guide, have it clear as day for anybody and everybody in your organization so that everybody's on the same page. And they all know like who you should be trying to speak to through the messaging, through the wording, through the emails, through the website, through the social media, through all of that.
Right, exactly. Who are you writing to? Who is your end person, right? If you put on that persona, is that speaking to them? Does that check all their boxes that it feels like it's speaking to them? Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about SEO. Do you want to explain to the folks that are listening, what is SEO?
Yeah, SEO is search engine optimization, right? It's optimizing your website for search engines. Obviously, that's the obvious side of it. And if it was only that easy, things would be a lot simpler maybe in this world. But it really does come down to really only a few things, right? So we have on-site signals. So that might be your content, internal linking that you have between, posts. It could be just general, like how your site is built, right? So it's on-site, you have off-site. That's signals from outside of your site, right? Stuff that you probably can't necessarily control. It's a big authority signal, right? So I would say that probably having a backlink from Charity Navigator or from a local organization that is supporting you, proves who you're about, what you're doing, what you're active in, and it's reciprocal, but it helps Google understand, hey, this company is not only real, but it looks like this law firm is linking to them, or, this car dealership obviously cares about them. So it's a trust signal at that point. And then after that would be technical, and that's making sure that your site loads quickly, it's easy for Google to crawl it, and there's other things kind of behind the scenes, like every image that you have should have what's known as alt text or alternative text. So that way, yes, it can read images, but it loves, that you've given it a little bit of description of what that image is about. So some of that technical stuff that just works kind of behind the scenes, just kind of helps to make sure that when Google or Bing or whoever's crawling your site, it understands what's going on.
Yeah, and there's tons of benefits. So if you have any corporate sponsors or big donors that they have their own websites, try to convince them to have a link back to your site. It's going to help for a number of reasons. Google will see your site as more authoritative. So there's something called DA, which is domain authority. If you can get a link from that site back to yours, it'll start to help you with your ranking as well, because it'll end up moving you up because Google will see you as a more authoritative website.
Exactly. At this point in the algorithm, what else is there to help it understand what to use as a ranking tool? And links are a big thing, even though Google say they're not, but we all know they are. So you have to kind of like take what they're saying and be like, I'll still go after links or still look for them. And it's not spam. It's not that you're not getting them an honest and fair way, right? By having somebody that participates in, with your business or with your non-for-profit or whatever.
Imagine that your website was a business. You want to get referrals, right? You want word of mouth. In web speak, those referrals are those backlinks coming back to your site, and it's going to help you. It's going to help drive you up. And when we're talking about nonprofits, is there anything specific that you can talk about in terms of what nonprofits can do for search engine optimization?
Yeah, so there's always a handful of things, right? So people are always looking for ways to donate, ways to volunteer, and ways to participate. So you should always at least probably have 3 different pages on your website that talks into that. And don't overthink the keywords. Those should be your probably keywords, because if somebody's typing in your charity, or even if they're searching for a local charity or similar kind of description, maybe it's a special needs charity or a charity to help grant wishes, they're going to be, how do I grant wishes in city name? And if you have optimized your page for that, you're going to do a lot better. Again, don't overthink some of the content and really go after, of course, what you do, how you do things, and have that page well written, right? We always say there's no minimum, but it could be, 750 words, really, that goes into depth about it. It has good titles, it has good headings, it just gives a understanding. And then at the end, make sure it has some sort of like call to action, what you expect them to do next, right? If it's a donation page, make it very honest and clear, probably what you're doing with your donations, and then ask them for the donation. Volunteer, is there a form, is something that they can sign up on? And then anybody that would want to participate or looking to use your services, how can they enroll? How can they sign up? Where do they need to go? And again, that also is a nice description there. And then if you want, you could also write blog posts about other ways that they could participate with your organization, other things that they can do that could be, again, more detailed, more things. But I would say that's your bare minimum to, again, continue to support your cause.
One of the things you came like so close to saying it was local SEO, right? Most nonprofits are dealing with things in their very specific geolocation. So their city, their town, their village, their municipality, wherever it is that they live. Leverage that in your page titles, in your content, wherever you can. People are out there searching for places to volunteer in West Virginia, for example, right? And we want them to be able to find your organization, that you can attract them and at least get some eyeballs on your website about you. And you were talking about content. So you said like 750 words. Do you have any thoughts on like best practices for content on a page on a website?
So best practice is to write it as digestible as you can, right? Write it in small parts. Don't write an essay with, I don't know, a 900 word paragraph, but break it up into parts, right? When we say sometimes 750 words, I think somebody thinks it's just going to be a blanket of text, but you can break it up. You can put bullet points, you can put icons, you can put other things. Make it so it's easy for somebody to read and digest, highlight the certain things you need to do, bold certain phrases that you need to have, but break it up into sections, build an outline, have something that, you could easily kind of put onto a page and that somebody could easily be able to read certain parts of it. Also, the same way Google's going to take it in, right? When Google's crawling, it's kind of pulling parts of your site. So you might as well break it up for them, because when you're giving it tons of text all at once, it doesn't know where to start, where to stop, what parts are going into. So there's some AI writing that you can do. We can go down that rabbit hole if we want to. But unique text about you. You talked about the local SEO. Hands down, important to start somewhere, especially if you're serving a local community. We all have dreams and aspirations, right? We're out of Orlando, Florida. We might talk to a charity that does want to service all of Florida. That's lofty, right? We're talking millions and millions of people. Instead of thinking, okay, I could really just target a good million here in Orlando, I'm probably good, right? You don't need to go out of the area right away as you grow, because it's going to be easier to rank locally here than it would be elsewhere. So if your content does speak locally, obviously that's going to help, putting those keywords and cities in there.
And you also want to break up your content a bit. Nobody wants to look at a wall of copy, right? When's the last time you looked at it, aside from maybe looking at, I don't know, the Wall Street Journal online or the New York Times, or CNN, or whatever news outlet, right?
Painful.
Nobody's coming to your nonprofit site and expecting to read a PhD dissertation or anything like that. Break it up, have some headings in there. So H1 to H6, that's going to help Google identify different pieces of your content. Throw some images in there, make it a little bit lively. If you've got a video of some kind, pop that in there, right? Let's imagine that you were coming to your site. What would you want to see?
I love it. Yeah. Make it easy, make it digestible. I'll be honest, it's sometimes as simple as write 2-3 sentences, stop, write new paragraph, change, continue your thought or change your thought, because at that point, you don't need to write any more than that, because you're going to lose people at that point. So
yeah, be sensible. Read through it yourself and go, yeah, this is engaging. Give it to your child or your spouse or your neighbor or a colleague and say, what do you think about this? Right? Get some real honest feedback about it, instead of just, oh yeah, this looks great, right? No, constructive feedback. Let's make it better. Awesome. So we've got some content. We've been working on SEO on our site. We're driving traffic to it. Google's recognizing us. Super awesome. But a lot of times, I would say, probably from my experience with our clients, maybe about 30% of traffic, 30 to 40%, is actually people going into Google and searching for your organization name, because they know who you are, right? When you do that, what comes up? You're going to get the results. And over in Google, we're really going to talk about Google here because they're the big player in the space, right? Over on the side, you've got the business profile that shows up for the organization. If you don't have a Google business profile, it's free. Just go to Google and search for, how do I get a Google business profile? And you'll get instructions right from Google on do this, do this, do this. Cool. Chances are, if you don't have one, Google's already identified your organization. And you'll notice a little link in there that says claim this listing, I think is what it says, something like that. And then you can go through the process of doing that. You have to get a postcard in the mail or something to authenticate yourself. So why should nonprofit owners and nonprofit founders and executive directors care about their Google business profile?
Beyond it just being free is the number one reason, because there's hardly anything in life that's free for marketing, and you get visibility for it. It's because, like you said, if they search your business name, you're going to have so much more visibility by having that big kind of outline box on the right with images, with phone number, with website, with, there's a lot more visuals to it. And then on top of it, if somebody is searching for similar things, and it's going to show up in the map pack, and I would say 90% of the time, the map pack shows up just below the ads, normally on the page, or sometimes even above it when we get lucky. But it's going to show up above the regular SEO. And if you want to show up faster as a startup, or even a big name to show up sooner in an area, you will want to focus on the local SEO, your Google business profile. I think I got that right because it's changed so many times. Google business profile needs to be set up for you to even have that visibility and to make sure it's correct. It has the right website, has the right phone number, so nobody else can at least, get that information.
So shouldn't nonprofits focus on their website? Like, why should they be spending time and care about the Google business profile? Like, what else is there? What other reason?
Yeah. Well, I mean, your website itself is also going to feed into your Google business profile, right? But there's other ways that you could, again, use your profile to engage, right? There's Q&As that you can fill out on your Google business profile. There's posts, right? So you could have offers. Maybe you have like a dollar for dollar match by a certain corporate donor, and you can kind of promote that. So people can leave reviews, right? So it's a trust signal out there that people are looking for. And the more reviews, the more trust, the more chance you have to show up better. That is a big ranking signal in the local profile, is reviews. And people are going to give, obviously, to companies probably that have, I know I pick a lot of times companies that I deal with because of trust signals, and reviews is one of them. Now, it's just one way that you could use in your kind of discovery process of who you want to do business with. And you might as well own that space, control it. You can respond to them. So if there's any questions, by owning the profile, you have all that visibility.
Absolutely. Are there any tools or software in your tool belt that you use? Which ones are they? What do you like about them?
Yeah, SEO, it's crazy. I think there's like 1,000 tools, right? Well, I'll mention two. There's the free one, which is obvious, which actually is, I like to use Google for keyword research, and I'm crazy that way. Why? Because if I'm searching for, maybe a certain charity type, maybe I call myself a certain charity type and I plug that in, what shows up? What other companies are there? What other terms are they using? And a lot of times, even if you just start typing, Google will like auto finish it anyway. It already knows like the direction possibly that's going. Or if you scroll like further down, they'll have, similar searches or related searches that chances are content, keywords, topics that you can write on your website or include in your Google business profile. So you could use Google itself for keyword research without even having to like overthink it. We use a third-party tool called Ahrefs for keyword research. Pretty popular out there. There's one, two, or three there. It's in the top three, depending on who you talk to. It's our favorite. I'm not going to say it's cheap. I think it starts at something around maybe $100 a month or whatever. But if you're writing a lot of content and just need research about what's going on, it could help you with competitor analysis, knowing what your competitors rank for. It could help you letting you know what you rank for, and you can track certain keywords. But then you can also go into keyword research mode and be able to have an idea of how many people search that phrase and how often people are clicking on it, or who's the competitor for it, right? If there's a search term that seems to have Wikipedia as number one, chances are you're not going to beat it. So you might as well maybe find another search term to go after. It just kind of gives you a lot of data that you don't necessarily see in Google. But I would say, like, if you're really serious about writing content, using like a third-party keyword tool like that for research is super helpful. There's 100 things. I think we use like 60 of like 150 things that tool offers. So there's so much that it does. And I'm sure somebody can find, whether there's stuff to do with social, there's stuff to do with backlinks, there's a ton of things in there.
Yeah, Ahrefs is really great. We'll have a link for that in the show notes page for this episode. Like David said, there's a handful of them and they're kind of interchangeable. So you want to make sure also that you're leveraging Google Analytics. Make sure you have a Google Search Console account as well. So it used to be Google Webmasters, because then you can start looking at some of the organic search terms that people are using to find your site, which is super telling. You might think that your nonprofit is ranking for certain things because you want it to, but that doesn't mean that that's how you're actually showing up. And having that insight is so amazing and eye-opening, because then you can start going, why are we ranking for this? And it's like some random one of like your board members' names, and your site's ranking high and you're getting like a ton of clicks through for them, right? Like, why is that happening? You can dive into that and get some more insight and details around that.
I have a quick funny story on that. So one of our clients is a personal injury attorney. So he's, he finishes everything with PA. Well, at some point, Google thought that we were promoting that we're in Pennsylvania and we're out of Florida. So that was not even close. So very quickly that we all of a sudden start showing up for a bunch of Pennsylvania terms, and we're like, we need to sweep the website and never mention PA for that. But Search Console allowed us to see, some of those keywords that were showing up. So
yeah, I think that's a great example there. You might not know that was ever happening. So plan in your schedule, put it in your calendar once a quarter. So spend an hour once every 4 months, or once every 3 months, right? Just take a quick look in your search console and what's going on. It's free. So sign up and get it. So that's cool. When we think about nonprofit sites, quite often, and we've done an audit at my agency of over 400 nonprofit charity websites, they don't look great. They just don't look great. They look like they're from 15, 20 years ago. It's a big problem. Some of them look really awesome. Some of them look like they're maybe 6 or 7 years old at this point. What's your thoughts on how often somebody should redesign their nonprofit website?
Yeah, I think there's no hard and fast rule, but I would say probably between 4 to 6 years max, maybe, should you really kind of go in and kind of begin to start refacing your site, right? And your redesign is a great opportunity to really zone in on what's trendy now, because it's obvious, but like most people use mobile devices some of the times. And if you're getting most of your traffic on mobile devices, it's easy to research when I'm sitting on the couch, right? And, how do you look on mobile, right? In the mobile first web that we now live, I think at this point, you got to make sure, is it easy for them to donate? Can they donate on your, sometimes like your button gets hidden because it was built on desktop and everything. So no matter what, you should, really be looking at your site, and dare I say, look at your competitors. If all your competitors have updated their website, I'm not saying you have to do it, but if I think we're all in a comparison age, right? Where people are going to pull up, 2 or 3 websites and look at them side by side. You want to make sure you're on their level, that you're looking the same way they do, and that it's easy for people to engage with your not-for-profit. And again, sometimes it's really easy to make a few changes and you're good to go. But a lot of times you have to, kind of build from the ground up, rebuild everything, make it look good. But user experience of your website, right? How people see it, it's such a huge trust signal. And after a few years, technology changes in terms of like how your website is performing, right? Even people on sometimes even Wix and Squarespace, dare I say, they have upgraded versions that if you don't know that you're using an old one that might be slower and not performing, right? There are, it's definitely obvious in WordPress, you might use an older theme or another third-party tool that maybe has an upgraded version that is faster or has more features than you're using that you can leverage, to help in growing your nonprofit.
I love that you spoke about mobile responsiveness. If you open up your website for your organization on your phone and it scrolls sideways, you need to redo your site, or at least have new style sheet made by a professional to kind of remedy those type of issues. Google has outright said mobile responsiveness is an indicator in their algorithm, meaning if your site works extremely well and has a great user experience on mobile, you're going to rank higher. So you want to make sure that your site is working optimally on mobile. David. These
Yes,
have been
Dave.
some amazing insights around marketing, SEO, web for nonprofits. I hope that the people listening have been able to get some great advice and pointers from you today. I'd love for you to give everybody a challenge here. So what could a challenge be that they, after listening to this episode, do?
I would challenge people to make sure that they have a Google business profile and that they give it a good 20 minutes and get that thing filled out, right? Get a few photos uploaded, make sure services and products are filled out, maybe add a post or two and just get that going. Make it look good. If you got reviews, respond to them. Take 20 minutes. It's not a lot of time. Make it as robust as you can within that time and really just run with it. Have an easy win on your plate.
That's awesome. I love that. David, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what do they need to do?
Yeah, our website's easy. It's iwantclarity.com. You can find us on Twitter, most of the Facebook, LinkedIn, Clarity Creative Group, or usually under the handle I Want Clarity. You can find us there. And yeah, just reach out. Let us know any questions. We like to nerd out on all things SEO and marketing.
Amazing. Before the episode, we were talking a little bit. You've got a gift that you can offer listeners if they get in touch with you.
Yeah. So my business partner really loves doing like 5-minute videos where we'll actually a lot of times use Ahrefs to show people what's going on their website. So if you go to our website, usually scroll down like a little bit, there's a quick little bar where you can fill out literally your email and your website, fill that out and it sends straight to him. And usually same day, he'll make a little video up and just kind of tell you what's good, what's bad, what you can work on. We don't even have to work on your website. You can send that to anybody. But we just like to share on opportunities on what's working and what's not, because sometimes you don't have that visibility.
David, thanks so much for joining in today. It's been great having you here on the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. To everybody listening, if you want any of the links or resources that David mentioned, head over to our podcast page at nonprofitdigitalsuccess.com. Click on this episode for all the details. And until next time, keep being successful.